Good afternoon, everyone. What a beautiful day. It really is. Well, on behalf of my City Council colleagues and city staff, I'm pleased to welcome you to this special event to celebrate a significant milestone as we near completion of the B Branch Railroad Culverts project. As you can see, some finishing touches have yet to be completed and some landscaping and access to the pedestrian trail under the tracks. However, the most critical flood control features, the new culverts and related structures and equipment are fully functional, and that is the milestone that we're celebrating today. Absolutely. Today's weather reminds us that winter and snow are approaching. It was essential that this project, this aspect of the project be functional as we face the possibility of high river levels from snowmelt followed by rain in the spring. It's hard to believe that it's been over 4 years since we celebrated the completion of the B Branch Creek Greenway, the creek restoration phase of the overall B Branch Watershed Flood Mitigation Project, just upstream from where we are today. Since that time, the B Branch is a beautiful community amenity, functioning as designed to prevent dangerous and costly flash flooding in neighborhoods, giving residents and business owners peace of mind when storms roll in. With the completion of the B Branch Railroad Culverts project, that peace of mind can now increase exponentially. Prior to this project becoming operational, the B Branch project provided protection for a 75-year rain event. Now, with 6 8-foot diameter pipes installed under the railroad tracks using micro-tunneling, the area is now protected for up to a 500-year rain event. That's big. Please join me in welcoming our first speaker, DERON, who is a civil engineer with the City of Dubuque and the B Branch project engineer.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. So since long before I started working with the City of Dubuque, long before I started studying engineering, long before I started grade school, the engineering standard for an urban drainage system is to design for the 100-year storm. When we started the first few phases of our B Branch flood mitigation project, the B Branch system could handle the 5-year rainstorm before flooding could be expected. And as many of you know, and families across our community know and can attest, flood it did. 6 times over a 12-year period, Dubuque suffered through flash flooding that resulted in presidential disaster declarations. But working our plan, planning our work, working with our local, state, and federal partners, we've made significant progress. And today, we're here to acknowledge the progress and the benefits of the Railroad Culvert project. The project itself, mostly, the improvements are underground. You can't really see them. So there's large box culverts that pass the upper B Branch Creek under Garfield Avenue into a buried concrete structure that then funnels the water into 6 8-foot diameter tunneled culverts into the lower B Branch here and onto the Mississippi River. That's really the system. That's what it is. One thing, or a couple of things that are more notable that you might have noticed walking up here is the large gray gate and with the cylinder and hydraulic arms attached to them. That along with the small building behind me and some small pumps below me, that's a system to help us to be able to manage the water elevation in the upper B Branch and also in the upstream storm sewers. So typically how that'll function, on a day like today, that gate could be down and allow the creek to flow for the upper B Branch through the railroad property under our feet here into the lower B Branch into the Mississippi River. And conversely, allow fish from the Mississippi to swim up through the system and find their way into the upper B Branch. But when the river comes up, say a river between stages 8 and 14, that gate will come up. It'll prevent those backwaters from kind of flooding the upper B branch and filling up our storm sewers. So that'll allow two things. One, it'll make sure those storm sewers operate at peak efficiency. The second thing is it just provides storage area for floodwaters. The other notable improvement is the culverts themselves that had served this area for 100 years. We're able to modify those to provide a dual benefits. So first, they will continue to function in terms of flood mitigation as part of the overall flood drainage system under extreme events. But on sunny days like yesterday, or cloudy overcast days like today, people would be able to walk or bike, from one side of the railroad tracks to the other, safely. And so that'll be open to the public later on next spring. Beyond that, I want to just thank the abutting property owners, Dubuque Furniture and Flooring, A1 Crane for their patience during construction. Also Canadian Pacific Railway for their active participation during construction, the process of being involved and being responsive in a timely manner to help this project move forward. I want to recognize and thank Tricon General Construction and project manager Tom Sheddick, all Tricon subcontractors, for the hard work you guys have put in, or you people have put in, your expertise and your workmanship, making this become a reality. I also want to thank the design team led by Strand Associates with Origin Design, Alan Butsky, Trenich, I say that all the time, Bennett Trenchless, get it right one of these years, and Psyche Design, Blackstone Environmental, for all the work you've done here. Just stopping to think, to design a project that passes a creek under railroad tracks without impacting the railroad at all during construction. That's quite an amazing feat. I also want to thank project manager Steve Sampson Brown from the city. He has a relentless attention for detail. If Steve's on your project, you are golden. So I'm glad he was on our project here. I also want to thank engineering technician Chris Lyons for being on the project site every day, watching over it, making sure that it's built per design, proactively identifying potential issues and helping solve others. So great asset there. I also want to recognize Tom Freund, who recently retired after 36 years with the city. Tom worked on many phases of the B Branch project, or the B Branch flood mitigation project. He worked on the Carter Road and West 32nd Street detention basin projects. He worked on the 17th and 22nd Street storm sewer improvements project. He worked on the environmental cleanup associated with the future site of our flood mitigation maintenance facility. He's worked on the upper B Branch, he's worked on the lower B Branch, and he's worked on this project. Every job, every project, he comes with a smile on his face and a can-do attitude. He cares. He cares about the work. He cares about his coworkers and the contractors. He cares about the people he's serving. What a legacy. What a legacy. Thank you, Tom. So, we've made a lot of progress over the years on the many phases of the flood mitigation, the B Branch Watershed Flood Mitigation Project. And we, as the mayor said, we have a 75-year protection, and it's still below the industry design standard. And that's why this project is so important. As you look around, there is still work to be done. In fact, there's still a lot of work to be done throughout the watershed. But with the help of our project partners, you know, we've come a long way. You know, so we mentioned it provides 500-year level of protection. What that really means is it's going to prevent hundreds of millions of dollars in property damage over the decades to come. And that's really something to celebrate. Thanks.
Thank you, Darren, for that detailed explanation of how this new stormwater infrastructure enhances our flood protection. It was amazing to watch the tunneling for the 6 new culverts, truly an engineering marvel, completed in a short time with no disruptions to rail traffic. Boston had the Big Dig project, Europe has the Channel Tunnel, and now Dubuque has the B Branch Railroad culverts. You bet. Every bit as important. On behalf of my council colleagues, I offer our collective acknowledgement to all the individuals whose skills and expertise have brought this level of flood protection to our community. In addition to our personal commitment to this effort and those you mentioned, I want to express the council's gratitude to City Manager Mike Van Milligan and City Engineer Gus Sahoyas for their leadership. Partnerships are essential to how we accomplish great things in Dubuque, and we have a number of partners represented here today that help make this project a reality. Our next speaker is DeAndre Singletary, and he serves as the Land, Chemicals, and Redevelopment Division Director for EPA Region 7 and made the trip to join us to celebrate this milestone with us today. Welcome, DeAndre.
Hello, and thank you all. I'm DeAndre Singletary, and I'm the Director of the Land, Chemical, and Redevelopment Division in EPA Region 7. And so pleased to be here celebrating with you today. Thank you, Mayor, for the invitation. Back in summer of 2017, EPA Region 7 got to attend the formal opening of the B Branch Greenway, and I'm absolutely thrilled that we're back to see this next phase of the B Branch Restoration Project. It's amazing to see what Dubuque has accomplished. The goal of the Clean Water Act is to restore and maintain the chemical, physical, and biological integrity of the nation's waters. With the city's work on B Branch, we see a shining and clear example of where vision, planning, and hard work has made real, demonstrable steps toward achieving this goal. By uncovering a stream long hidden underneath concrete and restoring it, it becomes not just an asset for the community who lives, works, and plays in Dubuque, but it's also beneficial to the ecosystem. Today's celebration of the completion of culvert installation serves as an important milestone in connecting lower and upper B Branch and ensures the flood protection that this system will bring to the city. Climate change has put a lot of pressure on the city's infrastructure. Projects like this one help build flood resistance and are one of the tools that can be used to mitigate the challenges climate change poses. Dubuque is a model of how environmental protection, flood mitigation, and civic pride can come together to create solutions that are practical, innovative, and a real asset to the community. These infrastructure projects take a community from surviving to thriving. Congratulations to everyone who has worked on this project, and thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, DeAndre. And please pass on our appreciation to your colleagues and let them know Dubuque stands ready to partner on more projects to protect and improve our environmental integrity. Our next speaker is Dubuque's esteemed State Senator Pam Yocum. As a nearby resident, she has experienced the flash flooding that occurred all too frequently in this area before the B Branch. Welcome, Senator Yocum.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, wow, This has certainly exceeded my expectations of what this was all going to turn out to be many times over. I can remember back in 1999, we had a 6-inch rainfall, and I was standing in 3 feet of water in my basement. Never had water in my basement ever in all the years I had lived in that house. And I'm on the phone with then Governor Tom Vilsack, and I said, Governor, I'm standing in 3 feet of water. And he said, I'll be there tomorrow. And he did. He came the next day, was in flight to Sioux City at the time. Apparently a tornado had touched town, and there had been extensive damage in Sioux City that he needed to look at. But anyway, I can tell you that I have been watching the construction of this since it started about 1.5 years ago, because I started biking almost every day when that darn pandemic hit, and it's still here. But anyway, I started biking, and so slowly watched the progress of this whole culvert being built, and it is truly just an amazing engineering project. So this has turned into more than just a flood mitigation project for those of us who live in the north end of the city. It has become an area where we can recreate, bike, walk, play. I see school children down at the creek, and they're learning more about the fish life and all the plant life in the creek. And it is just an amazing thing that we can all be so very proud of. I wanted to give a shout out to Joyce. I know that she's here today, Joyce Connors. Joyce was one of the city council people that was involved in the very start of creating all of this. So Joyce, thank you so much for all that you did to bring this about as well. I want to just finally say that the state of Iowa certainly has made a major investment in this project, about $98.5 million, but so has the federal government. But you know, the rubber hits the road here. It's the city council, the city staff, and all the workers who have put just quality work into building this wonderful greenway and mitigation project and brought it to where it is today. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, from all of those of us who live in the historic North End neighborhoods.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you so much. Thank you, Senator Yoakum, for your long-term leadership and continued advocacy for Dubuque and all of Iowa. Our next speaker is City Council colleague Danny SPRANK. He represents the city's 3rd Ward and has also been very active in the North End Neighborhood Association, which makes him keenly aware of the importance of this project. Danny?
Hello, Winnie. Hello, my name's Danny SPRANK. As you know, I'm currently the elected city council member for Ward 3, and that's actually where I happen to be standing today, right in my ward. So, welcome to my neighborhood. So, today I feel like we're here because we're here to see a vision that's been given form. When I purchased my home across from Comiskey Park in late 2008, I remember houses stood where the Bee Branch Creek Greenway now is. And in the spring of 2009, we started attending the North End Neighborhood Association. And that's where Marie Ware came from Leisure Services, and she was showing these large concept pictures and drawings of these big projects in the works. At first, I had no idea what the heck she was talking about, like daylighting a buried brick culvert and what all that meant, as well as working on a drainage ditch off the 32nd Street and where the old PAC site stood, and how permeable pavers or green alleys would help with stormwater runoff. I really didn't see this bigger picture until that next spring, when we had a week of this long, light rain. The ground started to get super saturated. The kids were jumping in the ankle-deep lake that had formed at Comiskey Park, and I truly came to understand what all this water and flood mitigation meant when I woke up and had 8 to 10 inches of standing water in my basement. After a frantic rush to Menards to purchase sump pumps and hoses, I then realized that realizing that our water heater was ruined and some of our belongings. It took nearly a day and a half for us to get all that water out, for it to only come back in because the water table was so high. I then knew that I needed to have a much deeper vested interest in seeing this Bee Branch move forward. I attended public meetings on designs and concept, voiced my concerns and thoughts, purchased flood insurance when FEMA redrew the floodplain maps. And then, unfortunately, in July of 2011, after another rainstorm event happened, we had at least another 6 to 8 inches of flooding. I then installed a sump pump and some drain tile to help with this. Luckily, we haven't had any flooding since. Unfortunately, a lot of my neighbors haven't been so lucky. When heavy rain falls, one could expect Kaufman and Central Avenue to see standing water. I knew the Hardick Drug would have water in it, as well as Knickers Bar. You would see cars flooded and pushed down Kaufman Avenue, neighbors setting out soaked belongings. But it was great to see this progress continuing to move forward from 2012 to 2017. The vision was taking form some more. All those homes are gone. The creek's been daylighted, of course. Countless trucks have been dragging dirt out of here. The site was flooded a couple times, and at neighborhood meetings we heard many extremely legal dealings with the railroad and the processes. But it was also great to see the neighbors taking advantage of the B Branch Healthy Homes funding. These projects would help them deal with all the flooding issues they were having. And when people would ask me, what was this all going on? Like, because people just didn't get why this big project was going on, I explained this is a massive public work project, a size of a project that our city hasn't seen since the Great Depression. This project would include a half a mile long park with green space, trees, 2 playgrounds, bike trails, walking trails, and if the green space needed to fill up when it flooded, when heavy rains, it would eventually be drained out, which is what we're seeing now. And I would also say, just kind of picture like this long Victorian walking garden. I remember in 2017, because this is how long this project's been going on for, the upper B branch was completed and all that excitement and positive energy. But we knew then yet that our city had more phases in the works. From 2017 to today, we got to see Lower Kaufman and, of course, the 17th Street, where they got additional drainage, which helps with flooding with our neighbors. And then, of course, in 2019, we had another great rainstorm event, and I walked over to see how full the creek ended up, and it was amazing to see it almost under the 24th Street overlook area. And I was beginning to see how this bigger picture of storm water management was truly working. I couldn't be happier with the progress that our dedicated city staff has made over this nearly decade-long project. I, like many neighbors, have watched and waited for this day to come. The vision has taken form, and yet this great work still continues. We know green alleys need to be completed to help alleviate stormwater runoff. Upgrading the sewers between 25th Street and 30th Street and between Elm and White Street still needs to happen. As well as we know we need a new maintenance facility over there, and as well as the Brownsfield cleanup. So we'll be seeing more ribbon cuttings in the future. I want to say thank you again to city staff for all the hard work you've contributed to this project and in the future. And of course, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Danny. And I want to recognize the other council members who are here with us today. We have Laura Roussel and Susan Farber, David Resnick and Rick Jones, and Brad Kavanaugh. I know David and Rick have been on the council for the duration of this project, so they really appreciate it. But really all of our council colleagues have been very supportive of all the major projects that have gone on in Dubuque. Another critical funding partner for this project is the Iowa Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. We're grateful to have Interim Director John Benson with us today. Welcome, Director Benson.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm so very happy to be here today. I had to kind of laugh when you mentioned 1999. That was my first trip to Dubuque to actually do damage assessment. Unfortunately, it would not be my last trip to Dubuque to do damage assessments, and it would all be in the same part of town. I do have a couple of thank yous I want to make up front right away. First off to the legislature and Senator, your leadership in creating the opportunity to do the tax increment financing. It was something the state had never done down this particular pathway, and to create that opportunity for cities to help themselves. Not only is Dubuque doing this, you've got 9 other projects of similar scope across the state. Really fantastic things happening across the state. I also need to thank the City of Dubuque and your team here, Mayor. We were given a project or this tax increment thing. I honestly didn't know what it was. Had to learn how it could work, but the city and Mike and his team jumped in with us as we were creating it and saying, hey, think about this. Could we do this? Could we do that? We found a way to put the system together where it actually benefits the city. It's that kind of partnership at the state and local level. And listen, I understand how the relationship works. I work for the state. City people, who do you complain about? I understand how that works. This was not the case. It was really wonderful to work with the City of Dubuque on this deal, putting this together, making it work, and understanding the entirety of the vision, which we're on the cusp of seeing completely done. We're very excited about that. The other thing that they have done, which has been fantastic, and you'll see that under ours, right above us is the National Disaster Resiliency Grant Competition. It brought in $96 million into the state of federal money for some projects, and as you guys have talked about here, watershed-based projects. That is truly how you address flood mitigation. You don't look at a single solution, you have to look inside the entire watershed. The city had that vision on top of what they were doing here at B Branch. We were able to take that concept and actually spread it across the state. So the work that you have seen done here by the city is not only a shining beacon for the city, it's a shining beacon for the state that can be replicated across our state, but also across the country. So I want to say thank you not only for the vision that the team had here in Dubuque of how this could work, but also thank you for being able to allow this for other people to look at it, to kind of be that, hey, this can really happen. You're an inspiration for other cities in the state, also an inspiration for other people and cities inside of this country. So, City of Dubuque, congratulations. This is really great.
Thank you, Director Benson. We're sincerely grateful for the essential support of the Iowa Homeland Security and Emergency Management. The Iowa Flood Mitigation Board was created by the Iowa General Assembly in 2012 and has supported Dubuque and many other communities deal with the increasing problem of flooding. We're very pleased to have Dubuque resident and Iowa Flood Mitigation Board member Ron HERRIG here with us to speak on behalf of the board. Welcome, Ron. He's got extensive notes, as you'll see.
I brought my,
Grab a cup of coffee, whatever.
yeah, I promise not to read the whole thing. This is the, this is the presentation that the City of Dubuque gave to the Iowa Flood Mitigation Board when they asked for their application to be accepted. No, I'm not going to read all of it. Yeah, I did. I did. Believe it or not, I stayed up late a lot of nights, too. You know, it's hard to visualize the power of a flood. But I think back into the 1990s, I think it was that, might have been earlier, prior to that, when we had before the flood broke, probably back into the 60s, and the damage that was done in the city of Dubuque. And it's just amazing what water can do and the damage it can cause. There's been approximately $600 million has been distributed throughout Iowa for flood mitigation in the state since 2014. Yeah, just what I needed. Forgot to shut my phone off. I have seen firsthand the damage that was done and the destruction that was done in Cedar Rapids and the rebuilding there. I've seen firsthand the damage that was done in Des Moines, John, and the reconstruction that's been done there. And I've seen the damage and the reconstruction what's been done out in Waverly. And it's amazing what's been done. And the nice things that have happened as a result of the $600 million. The other thing I want to mention is we don't think about it very often on this end of the state, but from Sioux City down to Omaha, the Missouri River area has seen tremendous damage. Cities have been wiped out and have had to be rebuilt. And back to Dubuque now, I remember early on, my wife and I, Becky, raise your hand and wave to everybody. We would go up to Buddy's Clubhouse, and we would drive around the B branch and watch it as it was progressing. And I just couldn't believe what was happening in that area. It got prettier all the time. And it's actually turned into a park, which is very nice. And I urge all of you, if you have some time, at some point, on a nice day, of course, with the sun out, to walk around through the area. And I, too, Danny, remember the waters coming down Kaufman Avenue and roiling down through that downtown area. And I remember, having been in the insurance business for about 50 years, I remember people calling and they'd say, we have water in our basement, our furnace is ruined, our water heater is ruined, and we would have to tell them that homeowners insurance did not cover that type of stuff. So anyway, we had some anxious moments at that time. But like I said, I encourage everybody to take a walk of the whole B branch from top to bottom some nice day. And thanks for coming down. And there are some people I would like to recognize too, along with John Benson, who is doing a tremendous job with the Flood Mitigation Board, but Terry Goodman, who has called me on many occasions, putting little bugs in my ears, and I would follow up on what she was suggesting, and the city manager, of course, and there are so many people I could mention, but I'm sure I'd forget somebody, and I feel bad about that. But once again, thank you for letting me speak.
You can take your notes with you.
You don't want to read them?
No, thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ron, for your volunteer service to assist Iowa communities. Another major funding partner and an agency that has helped to make some great projects possible in and around Dubuque is the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. Dubuque has been able to leverage funds and increase their impact thanks to programs like the State Revolving Loan Fund Program, or SRF, and the SRF-sponsored project program. THERESA ENRIGHT, SRF Program Coordinator for the DNR, is here with us today. Welcome, THERESA.
I'm going to use your clip to keep my paper here. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So, as the Mayor mentioned, the SRF program, we are a low-interest loan program. We offer that to municipalities to improve their infrastructure for both drinking water and wastewater, as well as to do water quality improvement projects in the watershed. So the SRF program has been part of this B branch operation and an idea for over a decade now. And we've partnered with them, and when I say that, I really do mean partnership. The Mayor mentioned our sponsored project program. Dubuque B Branch, with their permeable paver project, was actually our first pilot of that sponsored project program. And so they took many, many streets or alleyways, mostly throughout the community, and placed these permeable pavers. So now they have stormwater control as well as treatment for that. So, and as the pilot project, it helped us to grow that program, and it's become very successful today. So we are just thrilled to be partners with them. But keeping that in mind, Dubuque is a city of innovators. They're on the cutting edge. They serve as a model for water quality improvement initiatives. They set the example for what a community can do, and what it can be done within city limits or even upstream in the watershed to protect our rivers and our streams. So with SRF, we really enjoyed being part of this B Branch project. We congratulate you on completing the third phase of this project. We look forward to the next phase that we're working on with you, phase 4, the Bump in the Gate project. And we also look forward to many, many more both infrastructure and watershed projects in the future. So thank you for our partnership.
Thank you, Theresa, for joining us today to offer your insights. The America's River 3 campaign was developed to support the B Branch project and gave the general public and private sector the opportunity to create a lasting legacy, to honor family, friends, and neighbors in a meaningful and visible way along and near the B Branch. Our final speaker is Gary Dolphin. Gary may be famous statewide as the voice of the Hawkeyes, but he is perhaps even more famous for his willingness to support critical causes important to so many people. We're grateful to have Gary as an honorary chair of the America's River 3 campaign. Today, he's going to help us acknowledge a very special gift. Gary?
Good afternoon. My late great saint of a co-chair, Norma Denlinger, is looking over us right now. I asked her to hold off the rain and keep the temperature around at least 50 until we're done. We've arrived at a very special moment for me personally and for this community. As you know, Dubuque, being the oldest city in the state, has a lot of great family names that have built this city, and we're here to honor the Blums this afternoon. Mayor, great to see you and great to see everybody here today. Al and Suzanne Blum, for nearly 50 years, have owned and operated the Blum Company scrapyard. Al's father, Max, came to the United States from Ukraine in the early 1920s when he was just 17 years old. In 1926, he started his own operation, recapping tires in a small shop located between Sycamore and Cedar Streets, right over there, eventually expanding into the scrap metal business, hides and furs, and ginseng. Isn't it funny how everything comes full circle? In 1942, he purchased the old casket company at 15th and Elm due to its proximity to the railroad. It straddled both sides of the tracks, and as Al said, everything went by rail in those days. They hauled scrap metal to Chicago and hauled other items back, a benefit of having a large property with plenty of storage. They sold windows, aluminum siding, feed and fence wire, cattle guards, structural steel and pipe, and many, many more items. When World War II put a heavy burden on U.S. supplies, the Blum Company started handling paper, inner tubes, and rags so they could be recycled. The local Boy Scouts hosted paper drives and brought them what they had collected. The paper was stored on the second floor, and Al has memories of sitting up there with his friends and other school chums reading the comics. Al started working for his dad around the age of 15, graduated from senior high school, and attended the University of Wisconsin before coming back to Dubuque to be a part of the family-run business. He started playing a more active role when his dad began going to Florida for the winters. Al ran the business while he was gone and eventually became the owner of the company when Max passed away. Married in 1965, Al's wife, Suzanne, worked by his side throughout the years, learning the scrap business and managing payroll. The Blum Company pioneered recycling in Dubuque and played a significant role in the history of the North End, operating in the neighborhood for close to 90 years. In December of 2015, the City of Dubuque purchased the Blum Company property as part of the B Branch Watershed Flood Mitigation Project. In order to maintain the mile-long B Branch Creek Greenway and ensure its functions as designed, a maintenance facility is planned at the 16th and Elm Street location where the Blum Company served for 2 generations. In 2020, Al and Suzanne donated $400,000 to the America's River 3 campaign in support of the B Branch Watershed Project. Al told me he won all of that in the euchre games up at Happy's place. Every week at noon, every day at noon. The Blums have witnessed the transformation of this area into a beautiful linear park and support wholeheartedly with their pocketbook and their having lived here for so many years. They support this vision of a vibrant community space for residents and visitors, a true gateway into Dubuque. Al and Suzanne, your generous gift will have a lasting legacy on our community, and on behalf of the America's River 3 Committee, I want to present to you folks today the America's River 3 Legacy Donor Award. If you'd please come forward. Al and Suzanne Blum. I couldn't resist throwing that in there. This is a magnificent award and statue that we know will find a prominent place in your home. So congratulations to you, and here you go. You want to say something? Why don't you say a couple words? 'Cause I know the blood's flowing while you're standing, so say a couple words. Say what's in your heart.
Well, I didn't expect anything like this to happen right here today. I know they originally started. I wanted to have something left in my father's memory, and we certainly have it now. And
we hope we have a park.
That's
yeah,
the plan.
I hope
That's the plan.
there is a plan to have a park named after him, and if there's any on the property from where our company was. And I'm just overwhelmed. I don't know what any more I can say.
That's right. Thanks, Al. Thank you. You bet. Thank you. Thanks, Suzanne. Appreciate it.
Oh, John has to take our picture.
Yeah, I
Ron
take
has
my
to
hat
take our
off.
picture.
Not used to seeing me with my hat on.
Got it?
Okay.
Thank you, Gary. We're very grateful to you, Al and Suzanne, for your support of this project and your generous donation to this neighborhood and to our community. It will have a significant, lasting impact on our community. In closing, and on behalf of the entire community, I want to again thank all the people who have been involved with and worked on the B Branch Railroad Culverts project. City staff are working on plans for a community celebration for this project next spring when landscaping is complete. The pedestrian tunnel is open and temperatures are warmer. So please watch for the information in the spring. Rather than having a traditional ribbon cutting to celebrate this milestone, we have instead chosen to feature the functionality of this project. Using a remote control, yes. You all may want to walk over towards the edge here so you can see the gate. I'm going to activate the gate structure that Darren mentioned, and it will slowly lower to its down position, which will allow the free flow of water from the upper B branch under the railroad tracks and into the lower B branch, just as it will during a storm event. So if everybody's ready, we're going to hit the button.